Welcome in, everybody, to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and this is the BP live stream. And of course, with me is Andrew Erickson. It's wild card weekend, staring us in the face right here. We got a great weekend of football too, between the NFL and college football. If you missed it yesterday, we were live too. Myself and Matt Peralt breaking down the games. We got Matt's take as he's had some more time to digest some of the lines. We did the hot take show, the look ahead on Monday, Andrew Erickson and myself. But now we've had some more time for Andrew to dig into some of the numbers and some of the stats, some of the injuries too. We're going to get an update on as well. Let's start there. Let's start with Jalen Hurts, who looks like he is on the right track. He is supposed to be practicing today. We're waiting for all the reports of how everything went to be released here still, but that certainly bodes well for the Eagles. Now, Hurts hasn't played in a few games here because of the concussion. I still think the Eagles are a team that are primed to just absolutely kick the crap out of the Green Bay Packers. Sorry, cheeseheads. It's just where Uncle Joey is right now. Are you confident that Jalen Hurts is healthy and is going to be ready to play come this weekend?
Yeah, I think he's going to play this weekend. I am not super confident that they're going to start out hot, though. I mean, following the Eagles all year long, what has been one of their biggest struggles is scoring points in the beginning of games. So considering Jalen Hurts has missed the last 2 weeks, the starters didn't play last week, would any be surprised if the Eagles kind of came out flat a little bit here against the Packers, who are, again, underdogs playing on the road? We saw them play as underdogs on the road twice last year in the playoffs. What do? They covered spreads of 7 points and 10 points, and they destroyed the Cowboys, and they should have beat the 49ers. They lost by a field goal. So I like Green Bay with the 4.5 points.
Okay.
I'm not, again, every wild card weekend, it seems like you're trying to pinpoint, okay, where's the upset going to happen? Because all the favorites aren't going to win, even though it seems like that. Oh, it's going to be a chalky week. But it's like one team's got to make the upset. And again, it's still early. I don't know if Green Bay would be my upset of the week, but it's definitely one of the teams I've considered, just because I think Green Bay can get up on Philadelphia early on. I mean, they know that, hey, we want to establish the run and play defense. How do we do that? We jump out to an opening lead. So I think Green Bay is going to be aggressive from the get-go, and I think that can put the Eagles in a potential tough spot to start the game.
Yeah, I got to tell you, man, I'm just going to be on a different side of this one. I think that Eagles defense is so good. I think losing some of the health of the wide receivers towards the end here, I'm believing in the Philadelphia atmosphere, the Eagles team, Saquon, Barkley, all that stuff. And I just think the Packers just ran out of gas here at the end. If we're looking for an upset, Washington is the most interesting one to me. And then if you can call it an upset because it's so close, maybe the Rams too. Maybe the Vikings are more fraudulent than we think. I don't think so. I think that defense is for real. I just think they had an awful first half and it just steamrolled into their brains and they got their butts kicked in the second half of that game in Detroit recently. But another injury too, Zay Flowers. Now this is one that's going to have an impact as well. Zay Flowers has been a big part of what the Ravens did. He was a Pro Bowler this year, the first Ravens wide receiver ever to be a Pro Bowler. Now it seems like unlikely to play. How big of a loss is this for this offense? I know you still got Lamar, you still got Derrick Henry, you still got Mark Andrews and Bateman, you've still got a lot to work with, but not having Zay Flowers certainly is not your full complement of offense.
I think it's huge because when we saw Lamar Jackson finally exercise his demons against the Pittsburgh Steelers in week 16, who was his number one receiver in that game? Zay Flowers. Bateman did nothing. Mark Andrews was not nearly as involved as Zay Flowers was. So I don't know where you stand on this. I don't remember what we were talking about, Joe, with the Steelers and Ravens. I don't get the plus 9.5 for the Steelers. It makes no sense to me. Week 16, the spread was Ravens -7, and now it's Ravens -9.5 playing in Baltimore. The Steelers are putting out almost a completely different team than they did in week 16. George, you know who didn't play in that game? George Pickens didn't play in that game. Joey Porter Jr.
I'm not so sure he played in the last one.
He got targets, but he didn't catch any passes. Joey Porter Jr. barely played in that game. Deshaun Elliott didn't play in that game. Larry Ogunjobi didn't play in that game. He was inactive. TJ Watt was nursing an ankle injury. So the Steelers, to me, they're trotting out a completely different roster than they did in that week 16 game. And then what are the Ravens trotting out? Oh, minus their number one wide receiver who made the Pro Bowl. So look, the Ravens are probably going to win, but plus 9.5 in a game where we always know that the underdogs are the most profitable side of Tomlin and Harbaugh matchups. I am 100% backing the Steelers against the spread here. And that's where I stand.
All right. I'm not. Again, Andrew Erickson and I are on different ends of the spectrum there. I think the Steelers are, again, limping to the finish line. That offense is terrible. They want to run the football. They can't run the football. The defense is pretty good. Defense isn't great. And I think Lamar Jackson, just exercised the demons last time out.
Because the Steelers didn't have half their defense playing. I just laid it out. They didn't have their best receiver, and now the Ravens don't have. Do you agree that the line?
Justin Timberlake once said, "Cry me a river" for all the injuries. There's plenty of injuries. I think the Baltimore Ravens have finally just reached that point where they have their number. Like sometimes that happens where a team has your number until they don't, and that one time you finally beat them, it's like a mental thing more than it is a physical thing. You're right. There was definitely some injuries in that game. But if you're telling me Russell Wilson's going to go in there and keep this game close against Baltimore, I just have a hard time buying that. Everything I've seen on Russell Wilson,
it was close the last time they played. It was 17-7 or 17-17.
The last time they played, it was anything but close.
What are you talking about? It was 17-17 going into the 5 minutes left in the third quarter. 17-17.
And what was the final score in that game? 34-17?
Yeah, because he threw a pick six. That's what happens. You throw a pick six.
Well, that's what happens when you're Russell Wilson. They do stupid things.
Yeah, well, you don't have your number one wide receiver. You know who doesn't have
Speaking of wide receivers,
the Ravens.
Speaking of wide receivers, Jalen Waddle's got a jersey. We're giving it away. He doesn't need it. He's not playing anymore. So why don't you take it? It's free, courtesy of our friends at pristineauction.com. All you have to do is subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel right now. Drop a comment below on any of our videos. That's it. That's all you got to do. We'll be announcing the winner right here on the channel. So make sure you turn on those notifications so you can know when new videos are up and when you can claim your prize of the Jalen Waddle Dolphins signed jersey from Pristine Auction. All right, let's run through some of the games real quick here. And if people got questions, again, just drop them in the chat. We're happy to talk with you. Happy everybody's here. See, Miguel thinks Vikings are going to possibly bounce back. I'm with you. Look, it feels like a chalky weekend. I know that's boring, everybody, and everyone's like, oh, it's too chalky. And then, you look at the baseball playoffs this year. I keep coming back to that because it's true. Everyone's like, well, it can't possibly be the chalk of the Yankees and the Dodgers. And guess what? It was the chalk of the Yankees and the Dodgers. Like sometimes the teams with the better quarterbacks and the better coaches are just going to be the teams that advance. And, I think it's only one wild card team has won a Super Bowl in the last 10 years, right? It was the Tom Brady Buccaneers. And before that, it was a long drought. Before that, I want to say, if you go back. That was 2000. It was 2007, bro.
2011. They won the division that year. I thought they were a wild card.
I think they did. I think what I saw was the first one they were. Even so, 2011. It's a long time ago. This is what happens when you start getting into your 30s. Now you think 10 years ago. See, you asked me 10 years ago. I think it's the 90s. All right, that's what I think is going on here. Let's start with our first game here that we're kicking things off with. It is Los Angeles Chargers and the Houston Texans. Now, just to remind everybody, we're going to be live here on the channel, 4:15 Eastern time. Scott Bogman and myself, in-game live betting. So we want you to join us for that. So again, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell till it goes ding. Scott Bogman, myself, taking you through our favorite bets going into the game. We're going to be watching the game with you. So have us on your phone, have us on your iPad, have us on your secondary device, or just turn the volume down and listen to us as we'll be hanging out there, because this game might not be as exciting as some of the others, but we're going to make it exciting, damn it, by putting some bets on the line. And Scott Bogman and I are having a good time during it. So if you ever want to kick back and just watch a game with the boys, this is a good idea, especially if you don't have anyone to watch this game with. We'll be there for you. Let's talk about it here. This game line fluctuating a little bit. You see now the Chargers minus 2.5 in some markets, still 3 in most others. I still think the Chargers, once again, are going to outclass Houston. Nothing has wavered for me, in my opinion. I see a pick here from our chat, Chargers money line. Sure. I mean, I'll take the Chargers 2.5. I'll take the Chargers there. I'm good with that. Your thoughts?
I agree. Yeah. Chargers. The Texans have just been a team that you want to be fading all year long, basically since last year too. Like they've just been overrated against the spread. Again, the Titans covered 2 games this year. One of them was against the Texans. So that tells you a lot about this team and how it does against the number. I get that they're on the road. I don't care. All the Chargers do is play road games. Shout out to SoFi Stadium for allowing them to practice in all road environments. I will say, if you guys are going to be live betting this game, I think the Texans are live to jump out to a lead though. When you look at what they've done, the only time their offense has actually looked good has been on opening drives. Like they've scored first touchdowns in a lot of different scenarios. So Texans go up 7-0. You see the lines move live. You get Chargers potentially plus 1.5, Chargers plus 2.5. You jump all over that at minus 110, and the Chargers are going to end up covering the 2.5 anyway. So I think that's a good way to get some value. And also looking at some of these first touchdown markets when it comes to the Houston Texans, because they're underdogs, you're going to get some more longer shot odds on some of those players.
All right, we already are splitting hairs about Baltimore and Pittsburgh, so we won't go back and spend any time on that one. Let's go to Denver, Buffalo here. Another one where there is a script you can write here where Denver is super competitive. That week where everybody sat here for Josh Allen and the Bills, Patrick Surtain playing great, the pass rush they have, very good. And that Bills thing, which is, every time they feel invincible is when they start losing home playoff games, whether it be, Patrick Mahomes, whether it be Joe Burrow and Cincinnati Bengals going in there in the snow a couple years ago and beating them. This is what Buffalo does. Are we hitting another year where our confidence in Buffalo is too high?
I don't think so. I don't think you want to overlook this where it's hey, just bet against the rookie quarterback, make his first playoff start on the road. Like that's where I want to put my money. When you look at the Denver Broncos, they are 1-4 against the spread and overall when they've given up 30 points. You know who scores 30 points at the highest rate at home this season? The Buffalo Bills. So if the Buffalo Bills are putting up 30, Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos are not punching in this matchup. They're not going to win that fight. So I get the Broncos defense has looked good, but we've seen them play in playoff matchups before. They played the Chargers twice. They played the Ravens. They played the Bengals. They gave up a lot of points in all those games, and they didn't cover the spread in any of those games. So
this is a bigger number, though. This is 9. You think they can cover the 9?
Well, I was interested to see, because I know you mentioned this on the Look Ahead show, where you think that Denver might get some love, like closer to Sunday.
Yeah.
So
hasn't happened yet.
I'm still kind of waiting for that. If anything, this might be a shy away spot for me. Then again, if I'm not picking every single game, this game probably won't make my best bets because, like you said, it is a big number. I don't have confidence in the Denver, but I've also seen Buffalo not blow out teams that they should blow out at home before. And
47.5 is the number. So if anything, if you're talking about Buffalo dropping 30 at home, Denver doesn't have to do all that much. And the Buffalo defense to me is not impressive. I'm sorry. Like, I am not impressed with the Buffalo defense. Call me crazy. Let's move on to the next game on the slate here too, and go through Green Bay, Philadelphia. We've talked about quite a bit. Again, 4.5. I think the Eagles are going to clear this easily. I just think Green Bay is toast. I think it's done. I think it's over. Jair Alexander's hurt. Christian Watson's hurt. The health of this team is not there. Maybe they're a little sluggish. Maybe there's opportunity here where you actually get a better number on the Eagles. Like you said, maybe he comes out flat because he hasn't played Jalen Hurts in a couple weeks and maybe things don't look good. And then they get in a rhythm more in the second half. That is interesting. This might be one of those games that if you do love the Eagles, the longer you wait, the better the value might be. And maybe waiting till you get in there. You're nodding your head in agreement. So it seems like you're thinking the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of been a strategy with the Eagles all year long is just wait for them to fall behind because they always do. And then bet on them where you can get a better number. Because I think that this game, again, 4.5 point spread, that would suggest that, okay, like this should be not a blowout necessarily. I know that you disagree with that, but at least the spread suggests like should be a little bit more back and forth. I mean, both teams want to run the football and play defense, right? Like that's kind of the identity of these two teams. And with Jalen Hurts coming back from this injury, I do think he's going to be a little rusty. I don't think he's going to necessarily be airing it out. I think it's going to be the Saquon Barkley show. And that doesn't necessarily translate to, the Eagles are going to post 30 points on the Green Bay Packers. So I think this game might be tighter than some might anticipate. But again, that's why I feel like it could be an upset. But as you alluded to earlier, I think that I'd rather attack the Buccaneers and Commanders game potentially for that.
Now, I know on Thursday, we're going to be doing the breakdowns here. We'll get Terrell's take on it along with Andrew. And then on Friday, we'll be doing the props from the wild card weekend too. Saquon, I'm looking now, 20.5 rushing attempts. Where would you go with that one? Over or under?
Probably over. I mean, this is win or go home. And he's coming off a game where he had no carries, right? He had the week off. So he's got to be ready to go. So I would, he rushed for 2,000 yards this year. He is their offense. Like he's more important than getting the ball to AJ Brown, to Goddard, to Devontae Smith. Like he is everything to them. And he's going to get fed.
So watch the prop show on Friday, but make sure when you download the app, you're also looking for the prop bet cheat sheet available at Betting Pros, or you can go to bettingpros.com/props. That's the place to go to for all of the best overs and unders along with the fantasy projections. And then we line up the best place to bet them. It's as easy as that. It literally is a cheat sheet for every single prop and every single game that you could sort, make your picks, and make some cash. So use the prop bet cheat sheet, one of the many amazing tools over at the Betting Pros app. Download that bad boy today and check out the premium tools for a couple days for free. All right, let's get to the next couple of games here. We'll run through as we are looking ahead here because, again, it's a lot of football to go through this weekend, which is great. I'm not complaining. Sunday night, Washington, Tampa Bay. This one's holding at 3. Everyone's holding the line right now. The Buccaneers at home. Again, it feels like this is Baker Mayfield's spot. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people talking about the upside of Jaden Daniels, and he has a lot of upside, and he seems to have that magic. I just feel like the magic's going to run out in the playoffs. If you told me the Commanders are going to win this game outright, it would not shock me. If I'm looking for the upset, this is the one on the scale that, just Jaden Daniels being Jaden Daniels seems to be enough sometimes. Like, you don't have to even get that deep about it. He's been so good. 12 touchdowns in the fourth quarter and in overtime this year. When the chips are down, that guy cashes in, man. He is ready to go. So I'm still favoring the Buccaneers here with the 3. I'm still living in that zone. What do you think here? Is this the upset of the week here, or is this just another piece of chalk with all the home teams just continuing to move on in advance?
Well, the thing is, because this is the 5th of the 6 games played, we'll be able to see, okay, well, if it's been chalk, well, something's bound to give. So that might be something to kind of just consider. Like, hey, like if it's already gone 4-0 towards the chalk, well, maybe this is where we see things get spicy. I think the best play on this game is the over, to be honest, because I think that this is going to come down to who has the ball last in the fourth quarter. And that's not something I'm going to feel comfortable betting on when it comes to the sides in this game. The interesting thing that I pulled from the primer this week when it comes to the Buccaneers, and again, a team that's gone to overs in a lot of their games. Well, the trend that I found was when the Buccaneers have been either favored or underdogs by fewer than 4.5 points.
Oops, sorry about that. Apologies. I clicked something I shouldn't have.
Oh, no.
Sorry about that. I was trying to grab something else there and I ended up clicking it. Sorry, guys. Sorry, Sal. It's not Sal's fault. That's fault. Go ahead, Andrew.
So when they've either been favored by 4.5 points or less, or underdogs by 4.5 points or less, they are 8-0 towards the over in those games. Every single game that they've played that's been a tighter spread, so suggesting that we're going to see a little bit more back and forth, has gone over the points projection. So I think you can see both offenses scoring a lot of points. And to your point about Jaden Daniels scoring so many points in the fourth quarter, you know who's right there next to him? Baker Mayfield, right? Mm-hmm. The Buccaneers are also top 3 in terms of efficiency, touchdowns, passing yards, all in the fourth quarter as well. So I think it's going to go back and forth. So I'm not sure going to feel great having a side in this fight until the final possession. And that's what it's going to come down to. So that's why I like the Commanders on the money line, just because I think that's the best value play. But I mean, I'm not confident it's going to work, because if Baker Mayfield gets it at the end of the game, like, they'll probably win. So I like just betting the over. I think that's the best way to enjoy this Sunday night game.
You're probably right. The betting on the points is probably the best thing, especially the way Tampa's given up a lot of points this year too. All right, last one here, Monday Night Football. I'm just putting my head down. I know Terrell likes to say, just close your eyes, sometimes, and I'm just going to close my eyes. I'm going to wipe away what I saw from the Minnesota Vikings against Detroit. Maybe Detroit's just that much better than everybody, or maybe just a couple of those moments got in the head of Sam Darnold, and then he just started glitching out and he wasn't able to take advantage of all of those red zone opportunities. And there were many, many red zone opportunities. I also thought it was stupid not to take the points down there, and just, it would have been 10-3, you take the points or whatever it was at the time. You just get on the board, get back to the bench, have some confidence. Instead, sometimes you push too much too soon and things don't go your way. You end up killing the momentum of your team, and God knows the second half got out of control. I'm still going with the Vikings here. It's basically a pick 'em. You get 1 point on the side of the Vikings, -1, +1 on the Rams. I don't know, man. Like, if Cooper Kupp was balling out towards the end of the year, I might feel differently about this game and say, okay, there's a lot more to deal with here. But I know Stafford is a salty veteran. I know Puka's had a really good finish to the season here. Sean McVay's a good coach. I'm just going to go ahead with the Vikings and play the defensive side of this one, and think that Sam Darnold, again, in this tour and the season that has been him exercising demons, gets a chance to exercise another one here.
Yeah, I think that he's going to bounce back. Look, he had his worst game of the season in week 18. I think there's really no debate about that. But if anything, he got out of the way, right? He got out of the way when it doesn't matter as much as in the playoffs, right? So that's how I would be looking at this game if I was Sam Darnold. Like, hey, man, like, this is my first playoff game. Like, you got to keep that in mind. Darnold has never been to the postseason before. Like, this is his first time. And maybe getting last week's loss in a playoff style environment is kind of what he needed to kind of like, hey, rest the nerves. I got it out. I got my bad game out because he couldn't make a single throw. I mean, that guy didn't look like he knew how to play football. Like, everything that went wrong for the Vikings. Like, guys are open in the red zone. He's missing throws that he's made all year long. So maybe against a different team, I'd feel differently, but against the Rams, who have hardly looked like a juggernaut. Yeah, they took last week off because their offense hasn't looked great either. I get that there's a familiarity between these two teams. So that's maybe why I might see an underplay here, because you have there's a familiar between the two head coaches, and Sean McVay, like, he's never a guy you'd necessarily want to bet against, especially when he has Stafford, he has Nakua. But I mean, what O'Connell's been able to do this year with the Vikings. I mean, he looked like a lock for coach of the year until the week 18 stinker that kind of put him in a position behind Dan Campbell. So I like going with the Vikings here. Imagine what this spread would be if Sam Darnold had just played okay, right? It would be much heavier in favor of Minnesota.
Well, let's live in that world. Let's say that he played okay and it ended up being a 2017 loss or something like that. Yeah. What would this number be?
It would be closer to 3. It'd be a field goal because I think that's what it was. I don't remember exactly what my notes were, but
luckily on the BettingPros app, we can always look back and see what was going on.
Week 8.
Use the tools.
Week 8.
Let's see. Looking here, it's funny. The original set line for this game here between the two of them this week was actually was basically the 1-2. So I mean, I guess well, you know why? Because we weren't able to go back, of course. So it's not regular season. So my bet on that one, but I'm with you. I think it would have been 3. I think it would have been a 3 had they played well and still fallen short.
Lost, yeah.
Play well, you lose, whatever. 3, I think that it is. And, our friend Stig Mangione, Darnold putting too much pressure on himself to make that touchdown pass. 100%. I think that's what it was. It just spiraled. And to be fair, and you might have been the person to say this, that this was like the first big game that Sam Darnold's really played in the NFL. Like really important, big playoff atmosphere kind of game. And he failed. And that's okay. You learn from the failures. And this year has all been about him learning from failures. And hopefully the coaching, hopefully the teammates pick him up. But, this was a good opportunity to fail where it didn't cost you your season quite yet. And he's got an opportunity for redemption. Is it a successful season if Sam Darnold goes to the second round of the playoffs and loses?
Yeah. I don't know how you look at the Minnesota Vikings season and not think it's been a success. I mean, after what happened last year with Kirk Cousins getting hurt, they didn't really know who their quarterback was. They entered the year with Sam Darnold 1-year deal, McCarthy as a rookie who then got hurt. I mean, they've been riding pretty hot getting this type of outcome from Sam Darnold. I mean, I know they always talk about having 2 quarterbacks means you have a problem. I don't know. I feel like the Vikings have shown like, hey, we want to have quarterback options for us moving forward. And so far moving on from Kirk Cousins, I mean, that was a really sharp move. So I have faith that the Vikings are going to figure out what the right path is to do at their quarterback position moving forward rest of season and obviously 2025.
I will say this. If he plays poorly against the Rams or as bad as he did in week 18, that I think will squash a lot of people, including myself, who are on you have to pay Sam Darnold. He's played so well this year. He's gotten you to the playoffs. He's having you compete with the best team in the NFC, which also happens to be the best team in your own division. But it was woefully short week 18. So we'll see if a little bit of a reset is good for Sam Darnold here going forward. Now, look, tomorrow, Best Bets show. We're going to lay out all of our favorite picks. So make sure you watch that one. Fridays, all the props. And Saturday, Scott Bogman, myself, right here, 4:15 on the channel, Eastern time, Chargers-Texans. We're going to be here for you, laying out our favorite bets, laying out in-game live throughout the first half of that game. So we want you to join us. So ring the bell for notifications. So in case you forget, it pops up on your phone. You go, oh, cool. I'm going to watch this and hang out with Joe and Boggs because we want to hang out with you. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For Andrew Erickson, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.
Can't wait to join that live stream and talk about my Deontay Johnson anytime touchdowns.
I'll be waiting for it.
Boggs' favorite wide receiver.
I hope it happens.